Yeah, and we treat people how they treat us, and she was phenomenal. And now Sherri Martel is coming in.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about her quite a bit, but boy, another great talent gone way too soon, man.
Yeah, I'm laughing not because she's gone too soon, but because she was here. Here's, you talk about treating people the way that they treat you. So I go, I'm an independent guy. This is probably 87. So I'm starting to make a little name for myself. Maybe it's even early 88. I get keeping time frame as I get my first job in Memphis in summer of 88. Dave writes that I'm the best no-name independent out there, could be, who some considered it. And then within 2-3 days, my phone rings 5 times, and I get 3 different offers. And
from the Observer, you think?
From the Observer. So that's the New York Times of wrestling newsletters, and their influence is undeniable. So I get an offer from the Savoldi's up in Maine, which is really not an offer. I get an offer from Tommy Gilbert, Eddie's dad, in Kansas City. I get an offer from Memphis, and I end up going the Memphis route.
Why did you pick Memphis?
Because they had the track record.
Yeah.
They had the track record. Tommy Gilbert's thing in Kansas City was new, trying to resurrect a dead territory. The thing in Maine was part-time work, and they had the track record. I struggled for sure. I struggled mightily in Memphis, but it was a great place to learn, and I learned on a daily basis. And I also learned how not to treat people, because that was an example of a place where I thought people could have been a little nicer without much effort, and went out of their way to make life a little more difficult on me than it needed to be.
Management or other wrestlers?
I'd say, it sounds crazy, but I felt like there was an anti-Northern bias.
Wow.
And that I wasn't in the loop. And so when you are coming in, you are taking someone's job. And for example, I was going to cost Tojo Yamamoto bookings. Now, Tojo at that time was a legend, but he was well up in age. He was doing the type of thing where he'd throw a chop and hit him, hit the ropes and hit himself. But he was still a revered figure there, and I was costing a couple guys part-time work, maybe one guy full-time work. And, I would be lectured about the Northern style that I had. And then in the last week, we talked about the cowardly heel and how it's a good fit for some people, but Leon White at 420 pounds doesn't have any business being the cowardly heel.
Right.
And while I appreciated it, I just didn't think people wanted to watch a show with a cliched, the same guy, different guys doing the same thing. I'm a big fan of what I call the Memphis backpedal, right? Babyface makes the comeback, and it gets to the point of, whoa, let's talk about it, as walking backward, walking back, whoa. And when done well, it's incredible. These guys, some of the best in Memphis, they work that crowd, and the babyface, should I come out, that type of thing. And it works, undeniably, it works, but it's not for everyone.
Right.
And if I'm doing it in match 1, by the time you get to match 7 or 8 in your main event,
anymore.
It's not the same thing. And you ultimately want Lawler, who's going to close every match. You want him, when that guy does the Memphis backpedal, and you want Jerry bringing down the thing, and you want it bringing down the house. So I just thought it was, I thought it was bad. I thought I didn't buy into the wrestling as coward all the time, every time, and there were guys. Did go out, Robert Fuller, right? Jeff Jarrett. Jeff and I still friends to this day. Robert Fuller and I still friends to this day. Robert Fuller was like my guru, right? Rode with them and learned both what to do and what not to do, because Robert had not done a great job of saving his money as his brother Ronald had. But a great mind, one of the great storytellers, great characters we've ever had in this business. And so I made a lot of progress, but there were some definite growing pains there.
So we're learning all of your nicknames. We learned a few weeks ago, Mr. In Your House, and now we've got Best No-Name Wrestler. But you were talking about Memphis as a time when you first met Sherri.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Sorry. Thanks for putting me on track. As I'm talking, I'm going, thinking, where is this going? Do I need to come around? So before, say 3-4 months, I'm thinking it's March, this would be March
89.
March 88.
Okay.
Because I get my job in July of 88 in Memphis. Louis Fabiano, good hand on the Long Island area, good bump taker. Never really, he went to Continental, worked Puerto Rico, but never really became a name. I remember Louis going, Dutch has a gimmick for me. He may have worked Memphis as well. I said, what is he? He goes, the New York Thug, which bears slight resemblance to the Brooklyn Brawler, right? A little bit. So I wasn't as excited as Louis was about a second-rate version of a fairly mundane character. I don't want to badmouth the Brooklyn Brawler because it was a good.
He had his place.
He had his place, and it was a fun character. But it wasn't like guys were looking for ways to.
I want to do that.
I want to do that. I want to do that, but on a with less eyeballs on it. But anyway, Louis and I attend a WWF show back when they used to run high schools. And Louis telling me he went on a tour and he knows Sherri, and he's at the talking to somebody in the front of the WWF dressing room office. Can you tell her Louis Fabiano's here? And you figure Sherri's a big star. She's going to come. She hears an indie guy. She went on a tour somewhere. She pass a note to him, come out for 2 seconds, and instead. She comes out with all that Southern warmth and just Louis and hugged on him, and it was like, this is one of the nicest people you could meet.
Yes.
And Sherri, as you mentioned, she's gone way too soon. She had a tough life coming up, and she left us way too soon. But man, did she leave a mark, right? The stuff she did, not only with Shawn, but later on with Rick, the stuff she did with Shane Douglas. She was a major player, and when she came into WCW, she made a difference there too.
I hate that she's gone before the nostalgia of pro wrestling became in fashion again.
Yeah.
Like, she would have been celebrated so huge,
right? But
she wasn't here to enjoy it and appreciate it.
She made it into the hall, though.
Yes, she did.
She made it into the hall,
which was really cool.
And I remember how much it meant when she would compliment the women of the next era, our era. When she would talk to one of the women. I remember that year she was inducted into the hall and talking. Melina was like on cloud 9 when Sherri complimented her. So she was great for someone who was a scary Sherri and was willing to make herself look ridiculous. She was a really classy woman in an unconventional way.